Mr. Bassett?
Yes.
Mr. Clifford?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes. Yes.
Mrs. Gillette is absent. Mr. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mr. Raymond?
Yes.
Mrs. Nato?
Yes. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The student who is going to be recognized tonight has asked that it be postponed until September. So we will move to the next item, which is North Smithfield's Teacher of the Year. Mr. Limber?
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's my pleasure to inform you that Mrs. Kimberly Rawson has earned the award as North Smithfield's 2016-2017 Teacher of the Year. I might ask if Kim could come up and stand next to me while I So Kim's passion for teaching and dedication to her students to ensure that all succeed in what makes Kim so special and worthy of this award. Kim has been a teacher in our district since 2003, 13 plus years. During her tenure, she has demonstrated what it is to be a highly effective, highly qualified teacher. Kim began her career in North Smithfield as a social studies teacher at North Smithfield High School and continues in that capacity until this day. As a social studies teacher, Kim creates and implements innovative lesson plans that aim to engage students and improve their critical thinking and analysis skills. She incorporates primary source documents and other pertinent outside readings to provide students with a variety of historical perspectives and creates a variety of assessments, especially writing exercises that challenge students to comprehend, critique, and create knowledge. During this time, she has also coached volleyball and cross country, served as the advisor to the class of 2008, is serving as the advisor for the class of 2019, served for many years as the high school's mock trial advisor, served several years as the high school student council advisor, currently serves as the mentor program coordinator for the middle and high school levels. Kim has received numerous awards. Just to name a few: the James Madison Fellowship. This fellowship award is intended to recognize promising and distinguished teachers to strengthen their knowledge of the origins and development of American constitutional government, and thus to expose the nation's secondary school students to accurate knowledge of the nation's constitutional heritage. The Susan B. Wilson Civic Education Merit Award. The League of Women Voters bestows this award to honor Rhode Island's school teachers who enrich their students' understanding of the civic rights and responsibilities, encourage their students' civic participation, have brought context and relevance to crucial events affecting governmental institutions in the United States, and have promoted understanding and appreciation of individuals who have played pivotal roles in such events. As you can see, Kim's professional life completely revolves around her students. She challenges and expects all students to reach their highest potential by setting high standards and rigorous expectations for all. But more importantly, for me, she helps students get there. It is obvious that her students thrive under her leadership and guidance. Kim practices what she teaches. Kim is a lifelong learner, and because of this, sets a wonderful example for her students and her children. Kim is a great role model and takes that aspect of her life very seriously. Kim is a townie. She grew up in North Smithfield. She attended our public schools and graduated from North Smithfield High School with honors. She went on to earn her Bachelor of Arts degree at the University of Rhode Island, but her education didn't stop there. She continued on with her college education and was awarded a Master's of Arts degree from Providence College. As I said, a lifelong learner. She continues to participate in numerous professional development activities. Kim's number one priority has and will always be what is best for her students. Her success is based upon the success of her students. She has impacted the lives of thousands of students, which will never be fully measured. Kim's respectful interactions with her students, their families, and our staff are exemplary. She works hard. She's dedicated, professional, and prideful of her work. She never hesitates to step up to the plate to help. I say this every year as I speak of our district's Teacher of the Year. North Smithfield School District is one of the best districts in this fine state because of teachers like Kim. Congratulations to North Smithfield's Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Kimberly Rawson.
Opportunity to thank everyone. I'm very humbled by this award and very honored to receive it since we work in a school district with so many incredible professionals. I can honestly say that I love my job every single day and I love going to work every single day, as my girls know, right? And I feel like I'm very lucky because the reason I get to share that passion and my happiness is because of everybody who's around me. So I'd like to thank my mom and dad who have definitely embodied in me a love of education. Mom just retired, and Dad, we know Dad. I'd like to thank my husband is clearly very, very important in allowing me to do all the things I do. He is always supportive of participating in any event. My two girls, right, who remind me every day how important education is and how much I love watching kids learn, especially Bella, who's going to be in second grade. My extended family, my cousins, and my cousin is here. Thank you so much. And it was interesting because I saw an article in the Providence Journal the other day about how it's important to work with best friends, and two of those people are here. Julie Houle has been my best friend since we were born, and now she's also a teacher at the school. And Natalie O'Brien's always been an inspiration to me and supported me as my department head. So without all of these people, and oh goodness, how could I forget Mr. McGee, the best administrator ever, because he is very supportive of his teachers and allows us to teach, and he's a teacher at heart too. So whenever we look to him for advice, it's always coming from such a honest and true place. So there's nothing but wonderful things to say about all of you people, because without all of the support of these people, we couldn't do our job. So thank you very much.
Madam Chair,
Sure.
I'd be remiss if I didn't say that my daughter has had Ms. Rawson this year, and Ms. Rawson's just done a great job. She goes above and beyond for classroom work. Just I know for my kids telling me this. She works on study sessions with them. She's available during school, outside of school, after school, and it's really her dedication. Again, I think all our teachers have some amazing dedication, but Ms. Rawson's is very impressive. And as I say, the kids say, "We love Ms. Rawson." I mean, across the year they keep saying that we love Ms. Rawson. We love Ms. Rawson. So I'm probably getting in trouble for saying that. But, I think that should be noted how really beloved she is as a teacher and all the extra work she does as a teacher.
The next item on the agenda is a report on the status of the NSASSP contract negotiations, and Attorney Frontier will be reporting.
Madam Chair. I have a copy here of the report, and I'd like to deliver it to the school committee tonight. This could be the boring part of the meeting. Apologize. So what I've provided you at this public meeting is a report from the negotiation subcommittee, which includes the chair and Committeeman Bassett. Additionally, I have some tabs which I wanted to identify publicly. One is our last proposed tentative agreement, essentially, which we submitted to the union around April 25th. The next tab, which is tab B, is the union's response, which we received approximately a month or so later. The tab after that indicates what the cost analysis is in terms of negotiations between, well, it's with respect to the cost of our proposal. The tab after that includes a cost comparison between the school committee and the NSASSP counter to our proposal. And then on tab E is a breakdown of the cost of the NSASSP's proposed rate increase. I'm going to go through each one of the terms, but I think that this one is important particularly because it shows the breadth of the amount of increases that they're requesting from the school district and its impact on the budget. So to go back to the first section, I'd like to read pieces to you. The negotiation subcommittee felt that it was time to provide a public report to the school committee as to the status of its negotiation efforts with the union, which represents the district's custodian, maintenance workers, secretaries, and teacher assistants. The intent of this summary is to provide a narrative review of the significant terms and the conditions employed during negotiations. While it is not the intent of your subcommittee to negotiate in public, it's been almost a year since the last CBA lapsed, and the students, parents, and taxpayers of the town deserve to know the outstanding issues. Attached are documents of the subcommittee's last proposals along with the union's response, which, as I noted, were exhibits A and B. Your subcommittee's goal, pursuant to the instructions of the committee, was to achieve a fair 3-year deal with the non-certified staff that's respectful to the employees, as well as the taxpayers, as well as ensuring the educational values of our district. The negotiations have been difficult, we believe, because the union's demands at the outset, as judged by us, are unreasonable and unaffordable. We were frequently presented with proposals making unrealistic salary and other demands. One last proposal actually asked for 3 consecutive 5% general increases in salary. That was subsequently withdrawn, but I think it shows the amount of salary increases that we've had to deal with and figure out whether or not they could fit inside our budget. And obviously those kind of increases do not. Your negotiation subcommittee has been guided by the good work done by the school committee and the teachers union in reaching a contract. Both sides started negotiations from polar opposites with respect to that union and were able to reach a fair deal and common ground in the end. We were hopeful that this would happen with respect to non-certifieds, but it doesn't seem to be in the playbook for us. Our last voluntary session was on April 25th, 2016, held at the request of your negotiation subcommittee. At that time, we presented the attached comprehensive proposal. Additionally, I received a request by NEA to meet with the mediator, which I did with your permission last night. We met with the mediator for approximately 2.5 hours. There was no progress whatsoever at that meeting. It appears to us that a majority of the union representatives present on the 25th meeting were satisfied with the proposal that we submitted to them. We understand that neither the union local president nor some of his representatives were in attendance at that meeting, but we were very hopeful that that proposal that the committee had given would have cinched the deal. Unfortunately, apparently it doesn't satisfy the bulk of union leadership, because on some subsequent date they had an internal meeting and apparently rejected the proposal, which resulted in the May 31st counter proposal to us. I did want to outline some of the points of agreement and disagreement, because I think essentially we're down to 3 points of disagreement, but they're substantial. But I think it's important to point out how far the subcommittee has gone in this process in terms of trying to satisfy the union. The union presented us with a set of proposals based around some of the things they wish to accomplish, and we tried to accommodate that as much as possible. For instance, they request paid lunchtime for selected employees at school sites. They pointed out that on occasion, some maintenance people, some custodian people, and some secretaries were asked to do tasks during their lunch break, and they felt that that was unfair because it's an unpaid lunch break. So we agreed, based upon that request, to pay them their regular salary for that time period. That one agreement alone could amount to approximately $2,000 over a 3-year period into the pockets of the people who would benefit from this. But we agreed to that, and we knew that that took a big chunk out of the negotiating budget. With respect to bereavement leave, the union made the argument to us that domestic partners should be included in bereavement, even though not traditionally married couples. We recognize that domestic partners are a substantial relationship, so we agreed to add that into bereavement. The district on its own offered to increase the life insurance. The life insurance had been at $15,000. We offered to increase that to $45,000. The union president and the superintendent had prior discussions around the issue of clothing allowance. The negotiation subcommittee recognized that it was important that the maintenance and custodial employees have an allowance for protective articles, so they agreed to an allowance of $150 per those employees per year to buy clothing such as rain gear, boots, safety goggles, gloves, and safety shoes. So we agreed to all those items. The items that are contested, and there aren't that many of them, were emergency closings. The current contract now provides that if there's an emergency closing and someone even goes to work for 15, 20 minutes, that they get paid for that full day. So state law requires when someone reports to work that they have to be paid a minimum of 3 hours worth of pay. So we asked that the contract would support what the law requires. We wouldn't have to pay people for a full day's work if they didn't work for a full day. So our contract proposal was, we'll pay you a minimum of 3 hours and more if you work more than 3 hours. That was rejected, and apparently there's no movement on that. In terms of healthcare, from my estimation, and I've been negotiating for a while, and in a lot of districts, and all different kinds of locals, the negotiation subcommittee offered not to change the healthcare package, including not changing the cost share, which is at 10% for the next 3 years. Most of the money that can be gained in terms of paying for raises these days is usually made or done or moved. And usually it's a good deal for a union to do that because you put that money into pensionable salary, which is a benefit to that. The union wasn't interested in that, so we agreed to hold the line on that for 3 years, which is relatively extraordinary. The only request in this area that we asked for change is in the area of buybacks. So some people currently receive a buyback as high as $4,000, and essentially buybacks that high are an anachronism. We're basically on claims-based year to year. There's no reason to pay people not to have insurance anymore. Everybody should have insurance. So to give people an incentive not to have insurance is inappropriate, and to give people who have the extraordinary benefit of having their spouse having insurance so they don't need it should not be a basis to funnel more money to those people in terms of equity at the cost of money that you could give to everyone else. You could spread it out equally. So we sought over time to try to reduce that amount. So the proposal was very modest. We proposed that new and previously hired employees who have not taken a buyback in the past would receive $1,500 a year as opposed to the potential $4,000. This was also rejected. We feel that this proposal, as I said, is extremely modest and sensitive to the fact that employees who are among the lowest salaried in the district would not be burdened with additional health care costs. With respect to salary, we offered a general increase of $100 to each of the 5 increment lanes for longevity, which on a percentage basis is a substantial increase. The union is demanding a $200 increase in longevity, and they rejected our proposal. With respect to salary, I remind the committee that the last time it negotiated a contract, at the last day of the last year, it provided for a 1% increase for employees generally for this year. So in the pocket, employees are receiving 1% more based on the last contract, which has now lapsed. So with that in mind, the committee offered a 0.75% increase in the first year, which effectively is 1.75, and then a 2% and 2%, keeping in mind with what we've given to teachers in the past. The union responded in a way that Well, it was a way that was confusing to us, because what they proposed in exchange is a dollar value amount, an amount to be paid per hour. That required us to do an extraordinary amount of work. We were told that actually the percent increase reflected 3.5% increase for everyone each year. That wasn't correct for a number of reasons, and you'll see in the display that Lisa provided to you that actually those salary increases ranged anywhere from 10.5 to 16.3% over 3 years, which is a substantial increase over the years. One other thing that we did is the argument that was made to us is that the TAs essentially do some comparable work to the custodians, and they've been underpaid relative to the custodians. Relative to other districts, they're in the median. But we agreed to try to equalize their salary over a 3-year period. That equalization resulted in approximately a % or so increase for all those TAs, as well as the general increases that we spoke to. So in order to do that, we had to shift the money over to the TAs, obviously, and we were trying to respond to this equity issue. So we'd have a limited amount of money to spread around to everyone else, and that's how we came up with those figures. We also wanted to respect what this committee did with respect to the teachers in terms of the increases, which we thought were fair, and the teachers did too, which is why they voted for the contract. So as a result of the mediation that we had, we found that the question was asked to the union president, is there anything in the teachers, the school committee's proposal that you could move towards or accept? And the response to that was no, which leads me to believe essentially we're at a deadlock at this point. We did a cost analysis, and we found that the cost year over year for our proposal is approximately $170,000. The cost of the union's proposal is approximately $284,000. So there's a substantial dollar difference between our two proposals at this point. We don't see the gap as narrowing. We don't see that anything different is going to happen between now and whenever this contract could be resolved. We think that the offer that the subcommittee made is in line with what's happening, if not better than what's happening around the state for similar employees. We think it's very fair. I was impressed with the extent to which the subcommittee bent over to try to accommodate these people. The increases are substantial in today's times. And unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be enough for the union. We have informed the union representative, the state NERI representative, that in 2 weeks the offer will be withdrawn. And also, if we go past the fiscal year, it's going to be difficult, if not absolutely impossible, to give a retroactive raise. So what I fear is going to happen is if the union continues to be recalcitrant, they're going to lose permanently the raise that they could have achieved in this year. And that goes for the TAs as well as all the other employees of the district. I do not think it's to the benefit of the union leadership not to seriously reconsider the proposal we've given. But unfortunately, I have to give you the bad news that we're not anywhere near that point. We don't have another date set up. I really don't know where we go from here. I've advised the subcommittee that we should not go to arbitration because it's a needless waste of money. Additionally, I've indicated that because only money issues are involved, that essentially every proposal that went back and forth related to money, that the decision isn't binding. So we can go through an arbitration process, we could waste a bunch of money, but a decision from an arbitrator will have absolutely no effect on negotiations. We'd be back at the beginning again, except a year later, because it'll take about 6 months to complete that process. So usually I'm optimistic about negotiations and I always believe a contract could be struck. Right now, I'm not at all, to be frank. I think we're completely at loggerheads and I don't see a way forward. So that's my report. I've given it to the committee. There are a couple of figures on the last page that I'm going to correct, which I'll submit the correction page to. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
And can I ask one question? You used a term that I never heard used before and in negotiations, so I'm not quite clear what it was. What do you mean by, you said that on a certain date you met and you thought you had an agreement and they seemed to be supportive of the agreement, but then subsequently And I think you said you had there was an internal meeting held. Do you mean a membership meeting?
Well, from what I understand, and this is only secondhand information, so their whole contingent wasn't available. Approximately, I think, 3 of their members, the negotiating committee was not available the night that the negotiation subcommittee gave this proposal. But it was my judgment that the vast majority of the people in the room thought the proposal was very fair and they could wrap their arms around it moving forward. Subsequently, I understand they had their own meeting without us. And at that internal meeting, union meeting, and I think it was just a leadership meeting, I'm guessing now. I don't think they've had a membership meeting where they've explored this. But at that internal negotiation meeting, they decided to reject it. Subsequently, the state rep gave us the response back by email, not through a meeting. So the reference there is to their internal meetings.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too, thanks.
Thank you.
Next item on the
Excuse me,
agenda,
would I have a chance to respond to anything that was just posted out there at all?
under public comment, if you sign up for public comment, you may.
Okay, thank you.
The next item on the agenda is consider and vote on a motion to seal executive session minutes. Is there such a motion? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. In compliance with Rhode Island General Law 4246-4 and 5, there were no votes taken in executive. Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, I'll sign it. Next item on the agenda is collective bargaining. There's no action to be taken on the NSTA contract. The next item, item 13, collective bargaining, NSASSP. I don't believe there's any action to be taken on this item tonight. Item 14, legal advice regarding the DATTCO contract.
No action required.
The next item is public comment. There's no one who signed up for public comment on agenda items. 2 people have signed up for community comments. So
You're actually referencing the agenda items. A collective bargaining, that's absolutely, was on the agenda as well.
okay, we just have 2 sheets, that's all, so it's fine. So 2 people are going to speak. I'd like to limit the conversation each to 5 minutes each. David Lowe is first. To speak about funding education money.
I would like to speak about the comments made as far as negotiations first, if it's at all possible, because I wasn't aware of the tactic you people were just going to pull as far as putting our contract out in public, which, honestly is an embarrassment considering we are the smallest group, the smallest amount of money needed to solve this, because when we're offered a 0.75% increase, and there is a TA who makes going to go at a 3.5 base, you're talking a 13 to 17 cents an hour raise on the first year for the people. Now, all the other stuff in which we've spoke about that he brought up here, there are some truths to them. And I would gladly negotiate with this team privately, all together, and get on the same page. Because, first of all, working with the school system as long as we have, I work very close with the administration team. As far as the lunches that were put in there, the lunches were put in there for a reason, to help both sides. We were requested to put that in there. So, working together, we decided to bring this forward. And by saying that, oh, we're going to get more money for lunches, we're doing more work, we have more responsibilities for it. So you people make it look like it's a big game. It's a win-win for both of us, and that's why we did it. As far as uniforms being pledged into it, And that end of it, we were approached by the safety committee if we could get uniforms to identify ourselves for the safety of the children. So we said, we'll put it on our proposals and work with you like we worked all the time with the present administration team. So we're working together at this time. And it was a win-win situation. Now, do you realize that that .75 that you keep saying that we got for the first year, it's 13 to 17 cents an hour for us? Okay. Have you ever been presented 13 to 17 cents an hour in your workforce when you went for a raise? Especially after the whole town of North Smithfield was granted 3.5% and above. Okay, I'm not going to go on and on about it, but I will tell you that we will sit together with all of you and go over all of this stuff, because as far as I'm concerned, all the stuff that was just mentioned on that report, I spoke to you, Mrs. Nato, once in a meeting, and I asked you what the definition of longevity was. Mr. Bassett's response when I asked about 3.5% increase to everybody else, why wouldn't we get it? Because we're all in town workers. We all should be treated the same. Your goal should be to have a nice working force working together, not trying to cause any kind of disruptions or kind of, what you're presenting us is going to give half our group an increase on the backs of the other half. I don't think you people realize that when it's all said and done. So, if that's the way you're looking for to run your workforce there, you're going to be creating an atmosphere that isn't very healthy. So I'm putting out there, if you would like to meet all together and sit down, our team would work with you on it. But that's all I have to say on it. Thank you. And Mr. Scungio, I did not yell at anybody tonight.
How much you funding for?
Okay. Could I speak on the funding part, please?
Sure.
Last meetings you had, I'm under the understanding that we took educational money out to fund for some modifications made for the moving of the bond issue. We're going to be moving people from here to the middle school and other areas. We took, what, $60,000 out of the educational money to fund that to help cover the cost. My question is, when is it becoming normal for educational money to be spent on what bonds should be paying for? You know, the school system really shouldn't be paying the price of a bond issue that was put together so poorly. And without knowing you didn't have enough money, but now we're trying to get the money out of educational money. I thought Title 16 kind of clarified that educational money should be spent for education, not covering town bonds. And is this going to be becoming normal, or is... Unfortunately, you can't comment. Thank you.
I'll comment on that. I voted for it, and I'll admit, I was on the fence side. I really was on the fence. What pushed me over was really two things. It was a gesture to try and work with town council, and also what I understand is part of that move, part of that money will go to items. By the way, I recognize your point, but part of that money is going to go to items that we'll be able to continue using. In other words, some of the coolers, Marty, some of that's going to be buying some materials that we're going to still have, some shelving, some coolers, and I admit, I don't know the exact percentage.
So I'm going to clarify further. 100% of that $60,000 is for permanent improvements at Andrews, at the middle school, and I believe there was something in there for the high school.
But some is the moving cost too.
That is, no, none of it is the moving cost. We are not paying the moving cost out of educational funds. That is coming from the bond. So those are benefits that we felt that would be gained in that whole movement of people and personnel and technology.
If this move wasn't going on and the remodel going on at all, would this educational money being spent, we would have to go to that? I mean, would we be doing this if it was not for the bond No,
That's a,
That's a tough question.
Yeah,
I really don't know.
because,
that's-
because some of those things
because
were,
what-
some of those things are addressing items that have been listed in our capital projects as well. So I can't say that yes or no, it would be.
my fear is that we're going down a road using educational money to fund town stuff that should be covered by the town. And I think that's a very dangerous road to go
Ultimately,
down.
it's all covered by the town ultimately. That's where your money comes from. So the tax
But
base. in the town
we're
is-
getting gray areas where educational money sticks with the school and you have different reimbursements. And then you have town money that is separate than the school money, so.
Mr. Law, I voted against it for the specific reason that you stated. I don't necessarily have a problem buying some computer, different things for the move, but where does it end? So I agree with you. And I think a week later we received, and I can tell you that I've had conversations with council people on this as well, but then a week later we received a request to pay for half of the signs that are out in front of the schools.
That's another.
So, and I think they actually are having this, I was at the meeting last night, I think the state is actually going to end up paying for them. But you're right, where does it end? I agree with you 100%.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I didn't realize we could ask questions or answer questions. I thought this was the part where there was no exchange. So if there is an exchange, I'd like to ask a question about the negotiation statements that you made.
Yes.
Because quite honestly, I didn't fully understand Mr. Scuncio's response to my question. Did the membership have a meeting to vote to accept or reject this proposal?
We have a committee who is a negotiating team. We have brought what we had and had a discussion between our members. We never brought it to the members because I refuse to bring to the members for the simple fact that I am not going to give half the group a good setup and the other half not. That is a recipe for disaster, and if you want a very good working force together, that's the worst avenue to do it. There are other ways to settle this problem if it sat down and discussed it.
Thank you for answering. I understood your answer. I do.
Thank you.
It's clear. Thanks.
There's one other person who signed up, Michael Duncan, to speak on bargaining and
Yeah, it's really about the collective bargaining. I've also negotiated several contracts. I'm a member of the Teamsters, Local 251. I've been with Council 94 when I was with the town of Blackstone. I supplied 13 years worth of fire and rescue service to this town. I was president of the Smithfield Volunteer Fire Department. Negotiated the contracts even though it's subcontracting to the town. So I've been at the table as well. I'm not an attorney, can't speak to that. I find this amazing that this, and I actually question the ethics of the fact that you're going to negotiate. It might not be your intent, but what you actually just started doing is negotiating in public. Something that you already talked about in executive session, because I saw it on the schedule, which to me, ethically, might mean that those executive session minutes might become public, as is this document that you just handed all of you, which I'll be making a request for. I just don't know who to request it. So I'm a little concerned about what goes on there. All negotiation, forever and ever, has been behind closed doors. Well, not anymore. You're setting a precedent for a lot of cities and towns doing this, and I think it's a bad practice. So we're going to look into the ethics of it, and we're going to see if that's the right thing to do. But you did make your bed, and you're going to have to lie in it at this point. There was no TA. I mean, I've been involved in negotiating. You know, whoever's negotiating a contract, you come to some kind of agreement that both sides agree to. And the next acknowledgement is they bring it back to their body for the vote. That didn't exist. So what you thought, and you can't think what other people, you can't represent what other people think. So that was either a misspeak or arrogance. I don't know what that was, but you can't speak to what you thought they knew. That just didn't make any sense. In regards to equitable raises, it is embarrassing to see that, you know, the town wishes to take care of their employees. We are all members of the town. I pay taxes like everybody else does. And absolutely embarrassing percentage of a raise even if you don't do it by percentage, you can still figure that out for the average worker. We just did the same thing in Cranston. It was a fair and equitable contract for the masses, and that's what the contract's about. It's not for the asses, it's the masses. So sometimes that gets lost in translation when you're dealing with a union contract, and a union means all of the people. Not everybody really gets that. Speaking to the buyback, this is always an interesting thing when somebody is self-insured. We're self-insured through the interlocal trust. So there is an actual cost to healthcare that if a private business is paying for it, and I'm a little out of touch with the reality, but it's about $21,000 for a family plan if you actually have to fund it. Am I close? Okay, and maybe another $1,000 for the Delta Down. That's an actual cost if you're paying for it. But people that are self-insuring are not. They're paying an administrative fee for each person. And then there's an aggregate cost at the end of the year that you average out and you can see what you're paying. So I love these 10% cost share things. 10% of what? Well, everybody likes to use 10% of the 21 plus the 1, but it's not the reality. It's not what you're actually paying. So I think it'd be interesting to see those numbers. What is your real cost averaged out for the last 5 years for healthcare? And are they really paying 10% of that, or are they paying 10% of the 21 and getting screwed every year from that? It's common practice for anybody that's self-insured. City of Cranston does the same thing. We've never got the numbers from that. So buyback, it's kind of interesting. If you were spending $21,000 on every employee, the buyback would be a heck of a bargain for you. Give everybody the buy guide. At $4,500, it's a bargain. But for some reason, everybody's embarrassed by that, and it sticks out, and they get all, I don't know what everybody's so bent about the buyback for. The actual cost is less than giving the health care. So keep chiseling away and keep showing the people how little you care about it. It just amazes me. Well, let's see. I think that arbitrations cost money. I've been down that road as well. I understand that financial items are not mandated unless you're a police or firefighter. I get that. It's just the other contractual issues. But wouldn't it be interesting? I understand you don't want to just pay for interest. But I think it's more like you're afraid of seeing what the auditor would actually like to reward for a percentage. Because I'm willing to bet you that they're going to come out more than 0.75% as an equitable agreement with these
It's
things.
1.75, just to clarify.
No, it's not. It's 1% from the last contract. That has nothing to do with this
You
one.
got 1.75 this year.
That was from the
Yeah,
bill.
1.75.
No, it's not.
So you're right, then that's fine.
It's a 0.75. The 1% was in the
Fine.
last contract.
Believe whatever you want to believe.
Okay, well, that's very nice that you treat me that way. That's impressive. The other thing that I'd like to suggest is that when I'm watching this committee work, and I understand that you're all relatively new, the Robert's Rules of Order would be a great thing to learn about, to see how you should organize a meeting. And it makes it flow a lot better, it's better for everybody. So I would like to suggest it, that's all. And I respectfully disagree with your attitude. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item. Oh, I'm sorry. Jim wants to speak. Do it now if you want.
He wants to talk about the budget, this year's budget. It's on the agenda.
Or wherever you want to do it, it's fine. It's up to you, Jim. Go ahead. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the school committee, I wanted to just brief you on something that I've been doing. And it's tough for me to make phone calls to talk to all of you. It might be open meetings violations, so I need to address it in this manner. I know it's a little unusual. But I was able to testify in the public hearing on the town budget. He and I attended the meeting last night. I want to be clear that I acted as an individual member and made that statement and expressed that I was not acting on behalf of the school committee. I further testified that I would like to achieve the best school district in the state. I testified on a number of items, but there were two things that pertain to the school committee. I asked that they consider putting $100,000 aside in the council contingency for a math interventionist or two, or other positions needed in the schools. I don't know what we need right now, but I know that we may need some money. They did level fund us, which is below what we requested. And I want to make sure that we do have some problems with math. And I want to make sure that we're covering our students. I mean, looking at, I don't know if we need a middle school literary specialist. I don't know if we need the office clerk right now. I don't know if we need more technology. But I wanted that opportunity to have the ability to go back to that. I also asked for a commitment of $500,000 to establish a revolving fund with the requirement that the school committee match those funds to be exclusively used for reimbursable projects in the school department. With state reimbursement, that would be about over $1.4 million that we would get back, that we would have access to. To date, they did restore the capital account to $200,000. I'm still working on the other two items to set aside $100,000 and ask them to put aside another $200,000 for the revolving account. And I would then ask the school committee maybe to match that with $600,000. So that would be $400,000 plus 600, $1 million. Again, we get to $1.4 million. I want to thank the town council for listening to me. They did increase it $100,000. I'm hoping that they put some more money aside and that we can work with them on this. The only negative thing that happened last night was they did defund the videographer on the school side. So they decreased it by $3,500 and asked for the school committee to pay for their own videographers. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which includes all items under number 2. So I would be looking for a motion.
Madam Chair?
Madam Chair, it's still revised.
One I want to recuse because I thought the other could recuse from. I'm going to vote all one item.
Madam Chair, it's the revised consent agenda, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Which items would you like to exempt from the vote?
Some of the minutes, some of the meetings I missed, so the approval of the minutes.
Okay.
And on page 2 for the disbursements, on the agenda for the disbursements, I may be doing some work with the Department of Ed. It's kind of tentative. It's not going to, I'm doing now, but on abundance of caution, I'm going to recuse from that. We have a payment on page 4, line 1 to the Department of Ed for reimbursement. So just on abundance of caution, I'm going to recuse from those. So I ask that we vote separately, if that's possible.
Okay, I'm looking for motions to approve items 1 and 3 from the consent agenda, separate from the others. Next item on the agenda, Mr. Lindberg, is the superintendent's report.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just really brief. It's obviously the end of the school year, and I just wanted to comment on graduation. I'm not sure if any of you saw it on video or otherwise. It was a spectacular evening. Just wonderful. Just truly, truly wonderful. Great experience all the way around. Great speakers and just a beautiful evening outside. There have been many great end-of-the-year presentations and celebrations at various schools, recognitions of people such as Mrs. Maroney in her 50 years, phenomenal. Wanted to comment, I know that Mr. Kendall was there at the senior project presentations. It was again a spectacular day. Just the seniors really knocked it out of the park with their project presentations. Just wonderful. We're all busy preparing for the move. As you can see, there's a ton of boxes on the different floors, and I want to give a shout out to Adam Stanley and Marty also for getting the new revised digs ready. Great progress on that, so thank you for that. Administrators have already begun to start to fill vacancies, so we're really pleased. We should be able to get a leg up on staffing and could be all closed by possibly the July school committee meeting. Claire got a peek at park results as well as some administrators. I don't think they've been officially released yet, but I do believe you'll get a update on those come July. I did get a slight twinkle in Mr. McGee's eyes about something that was good, and I guess I won't let the cat out of the bag any more than that. And, but you'll get a report in July, so that's my brief update. And was with the custodians and maintenance people today at 12:30. They've already tackled the second floor, middle school, third floor rather, thank you, and going at it great guns. So the sun will fly by pretty fast. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I mean, really briefly, yeah, I did get a chance to see the project. I've done it for a few years, and the kids, they do a great job. It's actually a lot of fun, and I was impressed with the kids. And also the teachers, the reflection of what the kids did, you can see that their teachers, I had to talk to some of the teachers, they work with the kids on their presentation skills, and it's not just a presentation, they work on it all year. And it's an outside of school commitment, and what they do, it is impressive. So.
Thank you. Administrative reports have been included for our review. The next item on the agenda is Mrs. Marcotte with the financial report.
May 31st, we had $374,375 left in the budget unencumbered. Uncommitted at that time. Is there anything else?
I'm not familiar with that question, man. What do you think it's gonna be? Rough and tough.
I can tell you, we're still, working with outstanding.
It's gonna be 374, if you don't have the purchase order right now.
We've got about, I would say, at this point, maybe about 300,000 in expenditures, and we brought in about an extra 100 in revenue. Again, we don't, we talked about split staff contract tonight, so that could also change that if some county between now and then.
So what are you imagining the surplus for this year will be?
I think
Including the monies we've already spent from it?
I'm sorry?
Including the monies we've already spent from it?
Yeah, it's everything.
Yes, that's already been accounted for.
Right.
You're at least 374 if you don't spend all of that money in a year.
So it's
So
closer to 1.1 million.
the net is 374.
At a minimum,
We spent quite a bit of that in
750.
total.
and I think you're gonna be more than that.
What did we spend? What's the total?
750 so far,
Yeah, no.
roughly?
I mean, there are definitely projects that we're not going to get to before the deadline.
Yeah, but of the ones that we approved at the early meetings to spend surplus funds, how much did those purchases that we
You mean the
approved?
January and the April, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
think
I remember
we can send that to you in your Friday report, if you'd like.
it was what?
We can send that to you in your Friday report.
Okay.
I don't remember
All right.
off the top of my
Okay.
head. They've all been articulated, and I know,
Yeah,
It'll
just,
be in excess of $1 million. Okay, thanks. Under old business, the first item on the agenda is operating capital budgets. There's nothing at this time on that item.
the 16.
Madam?
The next item is superintendent search. I don't believe there's any decisions that we're making tonight.
Can I make a suggestion on that, on the superintendent search? We're interviewing tomorrow night in closed session, and I would appreciate it if the two people did come to the district last Friday to tour the district, and Mrs. Arnold was good enough to bring them through the district. I was wondering if we could meet with her in closed session and have her provide feedback for how that visit went and how people were received. I'd be curious to hear what happened. I mean, we set that up for a purpose of getting feedback, and now the only way I can see we get feedback.
Do we need a motion on both?
Well, I'll make a motion that we request and ask Mrs. Arnold, if she's right here, if she'd be good enough to join us tomorrow night for a brief time, just to explain how the day went and what type of feedback she received.
I'd be happy to.
Second.
I have one question on that. Were the candidates informed that they would be evaluated like that during did they know that there would be feedback from this? Were they informed of that?
Well, I believe all the administrators were getting feedback sheets of who they met, so I think that NSTA invited feedback from all of the staff that they were introduced to, so I believe the candidates were told that. Am I,
Yes.
maybe you can address that?
Yes,
The candidates were aware.
yes.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Madam Chair, may I, before you do number 3, if I may, or as you do number 3, I'd just like to update the committee. At this point in time, Mrs. Rathman and I had a long talk, and we would like to consider what is in your packet for information only. And we're not asking you to vote on this tonight. We'll come back in July with updated numbers, and I just think that it's the right thing to do at this time. Mrs. Rathman wanted to at least give you a heads up on what's going on, and if you'd like, she can give you a brief further explanation about what's going on. But for tonight, we're not asking you to move on this. We'll come back with updated numbers for you in July. It's one of these things that if it does occur, we're going to be in a very tight situation. So I don't know if you want to hear from her briefly tonight or you want to wait. It's up to you.
Personally, I'd rather wait. I'm glad to hear you say you're recommending no action tonight, because I was not comfortable with this, and I didn't understand some of the numbers in the sheet that she gave us, and I'm somewhat familiar with how the preschool programs work, but I had concerns about the numbers, because it looked like it was premature to me. So I'd appreciate hearing the whole presentation with some concrete numbers in front of us.
And Mike, if there's anything in the current memo that you want clarification, if you could just send myself an email and I'll make sure Suzanne,
Okay.
whatever,
Yep, I'll do it.
addresses it. Okay?
Are we all in agreement that that's okay to move to July?
Should. Oh, I think it's fine, but we just ask if Ms. Rathman wants to, if she feels there's something we should point out in this now, just wait till July.
I think that was the answer.
I'm sorry, couldn't
Wait, but if there was a she would, fine.
Okay.
And there's a
No, I
second
don't
page.
want to gloss over it, no.
Well, I just wanted to, Ms. Rathman want to come forward and that.
It's really up to you. I mean, we had a great discussion about it. If
No,
you
you
want
shake
to-
your head.
Okay, look,
Whatever you guys want.
No, I think we're all comfortable for July. I
Yeah.
think Bill wanted to give you the opportunity if you wanted to speak.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do. If you want.
I just really wanted to share my concerns, because I do feel like it was, I agree with Mike that sometimes it appears like something's premature, because there are overall 8 openings, but my concern is that within those 8 openings, anything can happen. We have to evaluate children by the time they turn 3 and provide them with services that they qualify. And oftentimes it can happen in the summer, could happen in September. We could be very lucky, and these 8 openings, we could last half the school year, maybe even the whole school year. We just don't know, and it's very unpredictable. And my concerns, and why I wanted to make this known to you guys, is that we require by law to have a duly certified teacher in front of those students, which means that teacher would have to have both a special ed certification and an early childhood certification. So it's going to be very difficult to find a teacher, especially .5, with both those certifications on a very short notice. So I agree, we have 8 openings, we can hold off, but I think we can't wait until we have 1 opening before we move on it, because what will happen is if those children require services, we may be forced to place them somewhere and pay for tuition, something I don't want to do, and we can service our kids within their home district. So I will keep you posted every step of the way as the numbers grow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the second attachment speaks for itself. I don't know that we want to get into any questions on that. It's pretty straightforward. Thank you.
On the operating budget itself for FY17, when we get next, I guess the budget, the town council's going to approve the budget next week, the final numbers. And then we have, once they give us the appropriation, we have 30 days to provide a reconciled budget, correct, Lisa? So we don't have to have a new enacted budget by line item done for the 30th of June. We have time to work on that, correct? I would like to.
I think we'll be prepared to give that to you, but the only thing is, we are anticipating that your packets will go out Monday afternoon. We would not be able to include that in the packet, obviously, because they're voting on it that Monday night.
Yeah, and I'd want time to review it before it went out. But what I'm getting at is, we have a budget subcommittee. I think you appointed me to it in the.
And John,
And
you,
John, and you. And like some other committees in the local areas do, I think if we met as a budget subcommittee and reviewed the expenditures for the year by line item, and we kind of came up with a proposal to come before the whole school committee, we can probably cut down a 4-hour debate at this meeting, with some consensus beforehand. So I would like to just take that opportunity to have a budget subcommittee, and I'd like to wait until we have the end of the year expenditure numbers as of June 30th, and I'll enter them in my little spreadsheet so we can see.
Well, those numbers may not be secure for some time before we can close
Yeah,
out
she's
the
gotta
year.
process
That
all the
takes
bills.
quite a while.
Yeah.
That takes a little.
Yeah, but the ones you gave, what you gave me last year wasn't that far off from what it ended up being. I know there's
Depends on
gonna be
where we are at the
adjustments.
end of the year. This year, I can tell you, we have a lot of spending going on because of all your approvals,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And I hope you don't wait for that, because I'd like you to consider enacting a budget before the end of July, because
Oh, definitely.
Lisa's got to open up accounts,
We have to,
people.
Yeah.
yeah.
Meeting.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, even before mid-July. But I think your idea has a lot of merit, so maybe meeting with Lisa to try and sort out what you might recommend. And the flip side, I mean, obviously, the rest of the committee at some point would want to know
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, but I'd like to pull those expenditures out of the line items that we made with what was going to be more of a surplus fund for this year, the capital stuff. And just so that we can kind of get a good base number for how much we should be budgeting for textbooks every year. Now, and this year we spent an awful lot on it, but let's come up, if we look at the whole picture, we can come up with a real number that we should be budgeting for textbooks that'll be adequate and, not just use this year's numbers as the base, because this year was an anomaly.
Yeah,
So-
no, I think you do have that already, Mike. That was in Claire's plan. I think she actually provided an update. We provided an update to you
last
from
meeting.
last meeting from Claire and Adam and Marty in those three big categories. So if and when you decide to sit down as a subcommittee, I think that's the first place to review. But you
Yeah.
do have a really good plan in the curriculum area and in the technology area, so.
Okay, well, I look forward to that meeting.
Do we need a vote on this?
No.
We can call this up.
I just want to remind you, if I may, that you do have a meeting scheduled for June 30th, and we still will have that meeting because we are going to try to do another disbursement report.
And second question, are we at that June 30th meeting going to recall the teachers who have been laid off? I mean, every year and most of them come back, and I don't want to pay unemployment over the summer and then call them back in September. There were,
Five, yeah. We may be ready for that on June 30th. Administrators are working on that now, so.
I don't think
You
we
don't
will
think
be.
we
all
won't
right,
be
could
ready?
we also, if we don't know exactly what position they're going to, could we check with the attorney to see if it would be possible to recall them to a position to be determined later? Because that's done in some districts. And that way.
We really have to go through the process, Mike. We have a pretty articulated process where people do apply, they get interviewed. It's really kind of presumptuous to give them that type of letter when we really don't know. So it's like a guarantee that you're gonna land somewhere. I think we need to look at that, Mike.
Yeah. Can you just talk to Ben about it too, to see if it's a
Sure.
possibility?
Sure.
Or some other option of avoiding the unemployment?
As I mentioned earlier, on the 17 operating budget, I think we have to make a determination on whether we want meetings videotaped or not. And if so, we're going to need to allocate that money to do that. I don't necessarily say we have to do it now, but we have to probably make a determination because after June 30th, there would be no funding.
Unless somebody has a coupon that we can get 50% off.
How much is it? How much is it, Jim?
I wouldn't want to get one free.
How much?
Pay for that?
Somebody want to make a motion?
No, we'll wait for the budget time.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fine. Okay.
Just one more thing, in regards to the capital budget. I don't know if it's premature, but is it a good idea to explore, at least explore what is needed to obtain RHODE funding on, at a minimum, these projects in the one-year plan? So, for example, I assume the leaching fields, the backflow preventer, hot water storage tank, sprinklers, whatever else we need.
I think Art and I had discussed that with Joe DeSilva. I think when the time comes, Jim, I think not everything in the capital plan is reimbursable. And so what will go to Joe DeSilva would actually be the things that are just, we're pretty much sure they're reimbursable, like they won't do a truck. So I think if you're trying to anticipate getting ready for their capital reserve account, I think that's good. You've got some good leeway time, but as Art will tell you, the real key will be the final commitment from the school committee and the ordinance that stipulates that the reimbursable comes back to you all for reinvestment. Otherwise you lose
That's
that.
some requirements. So Jim, you're already kind of working on this?
Yes.
You've already asked this. Why don't you and I connect between now and like 4:30 is
And I-
set up some time.
Right, and I did, when I testified, say that the money would come back to the school committee, an account, and that we would have the ability to spend it
That's
solely
actually a
on health
requirement.
and safety issues.
Well, that's actually a requirement for the revolving.
No, I know,
account.
but,
Yeah,
right.
so, yep.
So Art, after you both meet, you both might want to consider sitting with Marty and I, because we really want to revise the capital plan. It could be done very shortly, because then it would need your support to go to the town council for a vote of support. They don't have to fund everything, but that's what RHODE wants to see, that there's a general commitment to move in that direction. Because without that, then they won't even act on the capital.
No, and you have to have the revolving fund set up, and that authorization has to be in place for this.
So it's a good way to keep nudging it forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you're not connected, sweet.
Thank you.
I had a question too, because I was confused, trying to recall today what the final decision was from Joe Da Silva, but going back to, when you use the revolving fund, doesn't everything that you're requesting the use of the revolving fund for have to have been in a stage 1 and 2 application process? And in your capital plan,
It
obviously.
has to be in the capital plan. You can put it through fast track proposal, and because it's health and safety, so you can do a fast track application for it. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Ms. Lumberg, but you can do fast track, or if it's something like fire alarm, you can do an emergency and request reimbursement on the emergency.
I know the emergency we can, but I thought it was a limit of 500,000 or something.
Yeah, so I could be
It's
wrong.
up to 500,000
Yeah,
a year.
it's health and safety, it should be in your approved capital plan, and honestly, I don't get the impression that they're looking for a full-blown stage 1 and stage 2. If you're looking at something like, for instance, the fire alarm, and Marty can update you on that. Schematics are necessary, but you don't have to do a whole stage 1 on educational programming and all of these things. So, I mean, that's my take
But
on
that
it.
wasn't coming out of the revolving fund, was it? That was just under the emergency.
But either case, even if in this particular case it's coming out of emergency, but let's say it was coming out of your 500,000 or whatever capital reserve fund. So they wouldn't expect a full-blown stage 1, stage 2. There are components that I believe they'll expect, like schematic design, justification, and all of that. So I could be wrong, but I mean, we got time to check that out. And on the flip side, I think the other thing that I think Joe Da Silva really stressed with us was how you bundle those each year. So you can, let's say you can bundle up to 200,000 and it accelerates your reimbursement. So I think we can revisit all those notes. And,
I just, from some meeting with him, left the meeting with the impression that even though we have 1.5 million available in the fund balance to spend, we can't spend it or get any approval for it until the end of this next cycle that's coming up for the stage 1 and stage 2 application, other than the health and safety things. That's what I left the meeting with, and I just.
I think we've got time to
Did I make that up
revisit it.
afterwards? or
No,
did I-
for
Yeah, that's-
reimbursable, but it's the health and safety that's reimbursable. Some of the other things on there are not reimbursable. I think that's what it is. We can, either way, we're gonna have to put a new plan together, figure it out,
Yep.
get the town council on board, so as we're going through all that, we can reach back out to them.
Yeah, let's not guess, or try to recollect, let's get updates.
Okay. The next item on the agenda, PBIC SBC update, Art.
So I apologize, I don't have anything. I was not, and Marty, I don't know if you went, I unfortunately had to wait to go to last night, so I did not go to PBIC.
I kind of sat in the wings a little bit. They were voting on OPM for both the Kendall and Bushy School projects. I do believe that vote was taken. I didn't stay at the town council for them to rectify, but now, of course, they got to go into contract talks with them. So exactly which one of the two, there were two candidates that they voted on, and that'll be finalized, and I can relinquish that part of it off my plate, which is good, but anyway, that's where it stands. I'll give you a quick update since I'm next on the list. We did go, Jason and I put together the bid specs for the move, and
Thank you.
sorry.
That's okay.
Actually, can we just put B and C on that?
Yeah, we're on BNC.
Yeah.
Or reinforcing.
So anyway, Jason Parmalee and I put the move bid specs together, and it's gonna go into the Woonsocket call this Thursday. We're gonna do a walkthrough with potential bidders on Monday, and we're opening it June 30th. We'll then find out, exactly what a good date is to do the move. I know Adam and I, Adam's done a lot of work to getting us up to speed. I think we're pretty much there, ready to move on your end. My end is just about there, so everything looks good to me. To make sure we're out of there totally by July 30th is the drop dead date. But it depends on our schedules and so forth. We'll work with the team and find out from the moving company if they say, well, geez, the 15th of the month we're like totally booked. All right, can we do this date or which date? We'll figure that out. So,
And I do want to make one point to the rest of the committee here. I know I have not been at every meeting lately just because of the frequency of them and the frequency of our meetings, but I know it could not have been done without both Adam and I'm sure other people on the administration team and yourself, Marty. So I sincerely appreciate that you guys have both stepped up hugely on this project. So that is a big deal.
No, thank you. It's been good. It's been rewarding, and like I say, I'm glad there's an OPM on board.
So you can enjoy part of your summer.
Well, there's still a lot of things going on.
Right.
That's okay. It's good. So, but if we want to move right on to the moving pools, since we're on that.
Yep.
As you can see, we put together. It was asked. The question was asked to rent. What the cost of rental would be, and I went out and found from United Rentals, which is on the state MPA, just about $3,000. It's a little bit over $3,000 a month to rent them. So if we did 6 months, it's $18,000. If we purchased, the one quote so far that we had on purchasing was $19,995, or $19,950 rather. So what I'm proposing is that we go out to bid to purchase these units instead of just renting and throwing the money out the door. I'm sure there's plenty of other spaces that we could use these units afterwards from the move. So that's what I'm asking for tonight.
I just didn't get why you came up with 6 months of rental. And where are these going to be used? These are on the second floor of the middle school? Is that what
Yes.
it says? Okay. And we're renting them through October. Why are we renting them through October?
Just depends on the New England weather. You wait 5 minutes, it'll change. If the long-range forecast doesn't look too hot for October, we could certainly send it back. But I just wanted to give a worst-case scenario. Whether it's 4 months or 6 months, I still think you're kind of throwing good money after bad, even if it was only 4 months. So, like I said, so far, that's just the one quote I had. Putting it out to bid, finding other sources, similar units.
And where would we use them afterwards?
All sorts of different rooms. NSCS, the middle school certainly could use them.
Third floor.
Yeah, third
You've got
floor.
you've got some classrooms there with small groups of children that are pretty impressive, that are special needs and reading rooms. You've got a situation in NSCS when it arises that we're going to need a unit for a preschool. So, ESY, so whatever you all decide, it's
My recommendation is to purchase. Go out to bid.
Can I just ask a general
That's
question?
fair.
Madam Chair.
Sure.
So, there's no HVAC unit up there now, is there?
On the second floor, no, other than it just moves, it pulls outside air in on these 2 floors, basically on the south side of the building. So whatever the bricks and the outside air temperature get, that's what comes into the room.
So there are units on the roof now for the middle school, and they cool the library. Obviously, the server room has a redundant system. First floor office. So what was looked at was what was the cost to connect those 2 rooms to the existing units on the roof, and it was pretty cost prohibitive.
Yeah, okay, that's where I was
It
going.
was,
Thank you.
between $25,000 and $30,000, so.
Oh, wait a minute.
I'm sorry, please?
That's not cost prohibitive. I mean, we're spending 18 on
I think
this.
It was in the 25.
I think it was 25 to 30, I could double check. That was permanent.
Can you look into that as well?
Yeah, we have that
Somebody has
already.
an objection?
Yep, I
Because
didn't bring
why
it
would,
with me tonight.
if you have a permanent unit there, we have to spend 25 instead of 18 with
You
the
could,
roll.
Jim, it would be permanent for those 2 rooms, so whereas your moving pools, literally, for instance, Suzanne has a situation next year in a classroom where it's gonna have to be cooled, so you,
Well, give us your opinion,
But
give us
we're
some
not gonna
options.
we're not gonna be able to use that machine in that classroom next year anyway, because you need it on the second floor of the middle school. So
You're-
I'm just afraid we're gonna, I kinda like Jim's idea better, that we look at, you know, if it is 25,000, another 7,000, putting them in permanently.
Okay.
no, that's fine, we didn't. I guess the idea of the moving pools is there'll definitely be places, like on the 3rd floor, more so than the second, that are really oppressive. The second floor is oppressive, but not as bad as the 3rd. And instead of permanently cooling those 2 rooms, you just have some versatility the year following. Yes, they won't help next year in terms of that student coming in, but one could help the following year because that student may move to another grade at NSCS. You follow me? So the fact that they're portable could really be an asset to the district. Instead of cooling 2 rooms, that basically one may remain empty next year, after next year. Do you follow me? So just something for you to think about. I mean, you know, you can all do what you want. I wouldn't permanently invest in.
You know what,
Give us some options.
could I clarify something, actually? Because this is all part of the 60 that we discussed, right?
Yes.
This is part of the 60,000.
So I just don't want to put anything off and have it affect the
Thank you.
move date
Yeah.
and such. So I don't mean to be, I understand where you're coming from, Jim, and I agree, but I think, to me, it makes sense. We get use out of them one way or another, and I don't think we'd explore putting in a permanent solution at that point. To me, it closes that issue that we've been circling around for better than 2 years about whether to air condition the 3rd floor.
And one of the things I want
If you had those.
well, I mean, he's coming back with bids, he's gonna put it up to bid. I'm just asking for alternatives, if that makes any sense, and maybe the alternative is, what's it cost to do the 3rd floor at the same time? I don't know, I'm not trying to spend a whole bunch of money, but
Yeah.
I'm just looking for alternatives.
Well, right, but he's looking for an answer tonight on whether to go with rent or buy.
Well, no, he's got to go RFP, so he still has to go out RFP, and then we have to
Just-
appropriate.
Just to purchase.
Right.
Rental would, it's off the state bid list, so.
Right.
So we do have a little bit of time because you do still have to go through the RFP process. So maybe a motion to go with the buy option as recommended here, but please explore the other option of connecting and just give us a figure on that. Okay.
We have a quote, or we can do both. Are the moving pools, are they not on an NPA?
Then, no, because the one price that we had was from a different vendor that's not on state MPA.
Yeah, I want to support what you said, Art. I think we have a small window, and even if we take 2.5 weeks to put the bid specs out, get them out, you still have an install. The install on your permit's going to take a lot longer because it's a rooftop unit and it's ductwork involved. We'll go for both, but I do think, I'd encourage you all to consider the versatility of those other units. So if it's your desire to put them both out to bid, I guess we'll get going on it.
No, I think you need to fish your debate on it. So I make a motion that we purchase the units based upon your recommendation.
Is there a second?
So I made a motion that we purchase the units. That we purchase the units.
And he's not coming back with any alternatives.
No, he would come back with alternatives, but I think based on what we have for time to get this project.
I agree with you 1,000%. I'm just saying when he comes back, he's got to come back with the bids. We vote on the bids. At that time, we can make the determination of rejecting all the bids or going in a different direction. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to delay this.
No, I
don't think it
understand.
is going to delay.
I don't see any feasible way that you could move forward with a permanent installation for this summer.
Why couldn't we just authorize, couldn't we authorize the schools to put out the RFP, prepare that, and then we're still
it's feasible, then we don't do it. You know,
Okay.
staff can look into it.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait a minute, Mrs. Marco wanted to say something.
I just wanted to clarify the funding, because you had mentioned that it was part of the 60,000.
Yeah.
So the 60,000 was from our surplus in June 30th, that's all done. So if this is gonna come out of next year, so at that time, we're gonna have to clarify where the funds are gonna come from.
And we could take it out of the surplus that's left.
The fund balance.
It would just be, means that we would need to do another vote on that.
Yes.
And that's, I'm okay with
Okay.
that. Okay, thank you though.
Great.
So the motion is.
So we still need it somewhere.
Oh, okay.
Motion, Madam Chair, make a motion that we authorize put an RFP out to purchase the units.
And to also explore.
This will also explore the option of rentals.
No.
Permanent.
No, sorry, permanent solution. You already explored that.
That's a permanent solution.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is the DATTCO contract update. Mr. Clifford?
Mr. Scanzio's office is working with the transportation consultant on reviewing all of the issues, and we hope to get some type of report by the middle of July from him. And I also want to go on the record, Lisa, I asked Lisa in an email, but I wanted to confirm it publicly, we did receive the check for $10,100 from the last, the money from DATTCO that they owed us for the bond issue, the performance bond waiver. So that's been received. I don't think there's anything else to report at this time on that contract issue.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda, Mr. Lombardi. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No, there's nothing,
Potential special
we already have enough of them scheduled already.
Can I make a suggestion that, is it possible for the special meeting, could we at least, instead of having Sherry poll everybody when we need to have a special meeting, could we say, what do we meet on, the second Tuesday, or the third Tuesday? Could we say if we need a second meeting, it'll be on the first Tuesday of the following month, so that people block it out on their calendar? Because even when we were trying to get everybody for the interviews, if you know there might be a meeting on that date, you can avoid it. But if you, instead of at the last minute being told, these are the 5 dates, and then having her, wait for 8 replies and having to juggle things.
In fairness, I object to that. I mean, I have a job that takes me out a lot at night. It's hard for me to block out the time we can. I try to be flexible, but, some people are more flexible than others, and that's...
I'm just saying, not
I know
to
what you're
set
saying, leave it as a...
I leave it as a placeholder, like the first or second Tuesday of the month or something, but, I don't know, whatever makes sense.
You're still
So
going
you
to have
don't,
to poll.
You're still gonna have to poll anyway,
well, why would you have to poll if you leave it as a
If something
placeholder?
comes,
because you still need to know
you
if you
still
have a
need to know
quorum.
if you have a quorum.
Well, you've got a better chance of getting a quorum, I think. I don't care, never mind.
Okay.
Just trying to save Sherry some phone calls and email.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
That's the thought that goes. I know.
Yeah, just block it out. The Robert's Rule of Order, take it.
Yeah, but you're going to have to do it like this. So you still need to say you have a quorum.
You still have a poll, but at least you better block off.
The next item on the agenda, use of school facilities, Mr. Lombardi.
Sure. This is an item that I have, it's on every month and I haven't spent that much time on, but it's in regards to, opening up that middle school to all organizations and making sure it's a community building. But let me tell you why I would have just continued it. But last night, the council raised the fact that they will be looking for another place to meet. And they were talking about the budget and whether they should put some money in the budget to use the middle school. So I don't, I guess we need to really get a concrete resolution on what the costs are, what we would be charging them.
Is this a charging for the video?
I know. Well, I can't do the video. I'll see if I can trade those two off. No, but one of the things is obviously I would not support charging them anything other than anything additional fees. So, for example, if their meetings go till 10 o'clock and we have to pay overtime for a custodian, then that's maybe something that they should be paying for.
I would agree.
The use of the building, I would not.
They've never been charged in the 8 years or 9 that the middle school's been open. never been charged to use the facility. It's in the March 9th, I'm sorry, Jim, in the March 9th memo to you all, it really crystallizes the issue. What you have to decide they've never been charged to use the facility. The issue is personnel. You can't have a meeting in the cafeteria without having what's called a crowd manager. And so the issue comes down to the school committee. You need to decide if you're going to assign fees, waive the fees, cost share the fees, and they're only related to personnel. So it was pretty clear in the March 9th memo. So it goes on to speak about that. So, and the policy has always been very clear in terms of that. So it's really a personnel issue, Jim, because you need an assigned personnel, not at the end of the meeting to clean it up.
Superintendent, I agree with you 100%, and that's, you know, I don't know what they're being charged, what they're not. But I would like to at least send them a clear message as to, okay, you know, if they were to have a meeting on a Monday night, and they stay till 11 o'clock, you know, what's the cost? Just a general number, so they can put it in their budget or do something with it. I couldn't answer that last time.
I think to get the ball rolling, I think, and I had mentioned it to somebody on the town side, there's a number of town boards, they need to meet somewhere. So I had suggested, why don't they get us their tentative meeting dates for next year? I'm not sure the middle school can house all of them, because don't forget, they have school functions that will take precedent. So, and then we can estimate, if you have a 3-hour meeting, it's really not hard to estimate off the top of my head. It's going to be around $70, $75. So it's not rocket science, but they can do the math once they see the number of meetings. The thing is, it really needs to get going, because they're going to be working on this building come, whatever, July, August. So where are people going to meet? So the middle school's available, and if we have to, we'll make the high school library available. But you need the personnel to cover the meeting. They do both setup and they do breakdown. But it would really behoove the town to start producing the boards in their meeting schedules, so we can mesh it with the schools. So
I'll send them an email asking.
okay.
You know, maybe give them an answer. Harry?
The one good thing is the town boards and committees are fairly consistent in their meeting dates. It's either first, second, third, fourth, whatever. I think the problem's going to come in right now. This building's usually pretty free for all of those, but middle school may not be as predictable. So they may send me their meeting schedule. I'll say, yeah, it's available, and then as things happen, it may not be. So, you know, that could be the only thing that happens, just because of
The faculty and the kids
the
get
kids,
first use.
yeah,
no
and the
matter what, so
faculty
that's
and
fine.
things going on.
Or we can back up with NSCS cafeteria, you know, because, so the thing of it is the schedule. The NSCS cafeteria, Mary, would actually be easier to maintain with one person watching it, an assigned person. It's tough with the high school library, because you've got 2 entrances, so you got to lock one, put a sign up saying, go down here, but the NSCS cafeteria could be a nice backup. But the big thing is we got to get their schedule so we can start meshing them.